Did you see it? For just a few seconds, we all got to see the real World of Warcraft. We'll just pause it right here. This was posted by the WoW team on Twitter. And look at the real World of Warcraft that I fell in love with. Not the pansy version that you guys all adore. This is the one that I'm talking about. Look at these orcs and look at these trolls. How long has it been since we saw the real Horde? I'd argue they've never been in the MMO. I mean, watch this and you get all hyped up for the Horde, but then you go log into retail and you're going to see a bunch of orcs in bikinis and the trolls look like this. I mean, this guy looks like he needs to be sponsored for 5 gold a month just so he can get some food. I'm probably going to need a little more than 5 gold a month to get some shoes for these big ass feet. Now come back and look here. Look at these orcs. Look at these trolls. And here's Illyria, right, with her elven rangers in a battle in the Second War outside of Quel'Thalas, because that's why the trolls joined the Horde, is because Doomhammer promised Vol'jin that he would destroy the elves, which is why everybody scratched their head and wondered why the hell the elves would ever join the Horde, which they wouldn't if somebody that was writing the story knew what they were doing. But they did that because the Horde needed a sexy race, and the MMO has absolutely ruined the World of Warcraft. And that's not to just bash the game. There's a lot of great things about World of Warcraft, a lot of super things about it. But the story and it actually being in the World of Warcraft, that's long gone. It was the Elven Rangers, and who else, might I remind you? The Knights of the Silver Hand. Yes, my Paladin bros. Remember, there aren't Horde Paladins. That was, again, something they've done time and time again. They've ruined the lore in the name of balance to appease the softies in the MMO. But there were no Horde Paladins ever, and there never should have been. They should have shamans. And that's how it should have stayed. And that's it's a tragedy. But you get a brief moment here where you get to see the real Horde. And it's just been it gets me emotional looking at it. Because these are guys that you actually respected. Look how badass they are. And now we're just one big happy Alliance family. We're all Alliance now. There is no Horde. We all play together and work together for a better world. How we miss the old World of Warcraft. However, it looks like maybe we're going to get some animated shorts where we can at least experience it for, if only 6 seconds at a time. Some of us old school guys can go back. Thankfully, when they have to tell old stories, they have to actually go back into the real World of Warcraft and show how awesome things used to be. And then we fast forward to the Get Along gang that is retail WoW now, and just how the mighty have fallen, huh? I just want you all to remember this is my World of Warcraft that I came up on. This is what I'm talking about. Go put on your prom dresses and your sunflower sticks and go run around and hop around and do your puzzles and shit. But this is the one that I fell in love with right here. And I will die on the hill that this is a better version of World of Warcraft than the story in retail right now. There was another cinematic they dropped. I mean, they've been dropping cinematics everywhere, which is a good idea because no one does cinematics like Blizz. Here we've got Khadgar and Xal'atath, and she's about to go 9/11 on Dalaran. Look at this spell he cast. Look at that thing, man. That is unbelievable. The problem was he blew his entire offensive cooldown into the strongest thing in the game, plot armor, right? You can't get phased when you got that plot armor. And Xal'atath can't be hurt for at least 1.5 years. So anytime you see her, you can know that she's going to be fine, and whoever else is in there is going to get screwed up because that plot armor is thick, as we know from expansions past. Another island, another boss, and another 1.5 years of smashing our way to that boss until we can get to her and get her in octopus form and really smash those tentacles up and tell her no when it comes to taking Azeroth. And since we're covering everything WoW, There was another WoWcast where they go through all the different types of in-game and all the changes to Mythic Plus and rating and the UI and all the cool features with warbands. And one of the best things about War Within is the features. That is the absolute best part of what's coming in. I'm not real into the story, but the features and the amount of effort they've put into addressing things like Mythic Plus affixes, casual content. I mean, there's in-game for everybody now, which is kind of what they discussed in this WoWcast. Whatever you want to do, there's a way for you to progress your character and get gear. When we talk about retail WoW, we're talking about playing with your friends to increase your eye level. That's the whole goal, right? Is to get in there, play with a group of people to get your eye level up. And one of the things you've got to give the WoW team credit for is they have streamlined that process. They've made it way less tedious, and they've created multiple avenues for you to increase your eye level, which I think many of the retail community are greatly going to appreciate. The weaknesses of retail are the story and the fact that this whole game feels like it's placed very outside of the World of Warcraft. And anytime you go back and look at old World of Warcraft footage, it makes you very aware that we're not in Kansas anymore. I don't think that affects most people. Matter of fact, I don't think a lot of people even read the quest or are that involved with the world. They're just leveling up in 2 to 3 hours and getting their character on the gear treadmill as quickly as possible. And that's what retail really is. It's not about leveling a character and having an experience and seeing other people in the world. It's about hopping on your flying mount, flying around from mob to mob even, not even just around the world, but literally mounting up from mob to mob, getting your guy to max level and getting him on that gear treadmill ASAP. That's retail WoW. The strength of that is that you have very dedicated communities that, I mean, when I say dedicated, holy shit, to this process, right? I mean, just pretty much don't ever stop doing it. You have full-time content creators who literally play WoW for their job. And then you have just a bunch in the community with 6-7 ults a season just hammering this treadmill. And that's great because you've got a dedicated base, and the whole goal of this is to make a game so that you can get people to play it for $15 a month, right? And it works. And there's kind of that staple of the retail community, both on the PvE and PvP side. They're not going anywhere. The weakness of retail, aside from the story and the challenge going into the War Within, was bringing people back that were kind of sitting on the edges, like people that used to play retail WoW but don't anymore. You've got some real things going for you in this area because it's looking like across the board, most of the classic WoW versions have kind of peaked and now they're kind of in a slum. And I think the nostalgia wore off, both because people went back to those game modes and realized they had their flaws too. They weren't as magical as they thought they were. Also, there's just something about the classic community that I can't believe how toxic the classic community is. It's unreal. So it is true that you have multiple versions of WoW right now, but none of them are extremely popular. And so I think, you know, the War Within is coming in at a very nice time where people, again, like I said, the luster's kind of gone in those older versions of WoW. And so maybe they'll be enticed to hop into the War Within and give it a shot. And also, you know, we always have to give credit, the systems in retail. If you're a casual player, there's not a better version of WoW out there, especially for someone like me. I mean, I'm a part-time content creator for WoW. I can just hop in, get my queues done, get some Mythic Plus done. The looking for group systems are outstanding, and the dungeons are always cool. And the class design is outstanding. And sure, I've got my issues with the story and really just some of the game design in general, but there's a lot going for World of Warcraft, and it's still by far and away the most successful and one of the most played MMOs out there. It's not going anywhere soon. The only concern that I have is two things can be true. You can still have a very active and dedicated base, but if you're not bringing in new players, then by definition, your game is slowly dying. And that was really the challenge with the War Within, is how are we going to bring in new players? Not even just new players. We always talk about new players, but let's just talk about players lost, people that used to play Warcraft that aren't interested anymore. Millions of these people out there that have played a lot of Warcraft and, family or job or life just came along and now they don't anymore. Could you reach out and grab some of those? And what would that look like? I don't know that these new features are really going to appeal to them. It's going to look like more of the same from the outside. At least the friends that I know that used to play WoW and played Classic and played even some of Dragonflight, they were like, it's just all the same old shit now. New island, new factions, gear treadmill, go. And that formula seems to have also lost its luster amongst a lot of people. So we'll see how the sales are and we'll see how things go. The first season's always fun because it's got the highest participation and it's all fresh and new and all the dungeons are new and it'll be a good time and I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm really excited for the War Within. The only thing that I ever wish is that we could go back to the World of Warcraft. People always tell you when you say that, they're like, go play Classic. But if you know anything about WoW, then you'll know that even Classic really isn't the old World of Warcraft I'm talking about. I'm talking about that second war, Orgrim Doomhammer horde coming out, joining up with the trolls and just ravaging the lands. That's the World of Warcraft I think is awesome. And boy, we are far, far, far removed from that world. And I don't think it's ever coming back in the MMO, but maybe in a mobile game or something. Maybe that's what I'll have to switch up. The reality is one day you wake up and you're an old man talking about the good old days. And here I am doing just that. Oklahoma out.